So, Phyllis,
Morning.
good morning. I was yesterday, I believe it was. You said something that kind of shocked me. You said 2 years ago, when you were here at this training, you did not know one Bible story much, and I thought, was that only 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's just been 2 years.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your journey up to that point, how you first were, you talked a little bit about the Christian Storytelling Conference. Just tell us a little bit about where you came from.
I guess I've kind of been involved on the fringes of things here, maybe 10 years. I think it's important for you to understand that when I first came to this, I was probably living what many people would consider the American dream. Good marriage, 3 extremely successful kids, big house, wonderful job. And then Mike Lockett had called me and invited me to come to the Christian Storytelling Conference and BibleTelling, and I just laughed. I said, how hypocritical would that be? I don't own a Bible. I've never read a Bible. I know nothing about it. He said, no. You tell stories. Come, you'll learn. So it just worked out that my last job was here in Bloomington, so I thought, well, I'll come to the conference. And that was the starting point for me, because the thing that struck me most at the conference at that point was not even hearing the stories or learning stories, it was the people. I can remember at one point I took my chair and I pulled it way to the back of the room and I just sat back there and I watched John and Jan and Don Falcos and all of the other people that were there. And what struck me was that I'm happy, but all of you were joyful. And I knew that wasn't in my life. And with every single person I talked to and every workshop I went to, there was this presence about them. There was just this inner strength or this confidence that I knew I didn't have. I was, no matter what I did, had to be better. And so I thought, I don't know what it is they have, but I want that. And so then it took a long time for me to find that.
Yeah, I think it came to a point when I was looking for storytellers to go to Israel, and you had, I think you had mentioned, and you can correct me here, that the University of Tel Aviv had contracted you to come.
Yeah.
So you'd done all this research on Israel because you're going to be there for a whole month, and you're hoping to see a little some sites as well, and then you got into an accident where you were so close to death, that you canceled. Well, not you. It was canceled for you. Everything you were doing. You were in the hospital. They were fearful that you would not make it through, and so the Israel trip that you had planned on was canceled.
Yeah.
And so when we talked about taking a bunch of storytellers to Israel, just kind of tell us about it.
Yeah, I was very eager to go, but then he said, but then when you go, you have to tell Bible stories. I said, oh. I wasn't real sure, but the interesting part about that was that I was on the path. I had been thinking about Christianity, trying to decide. And what was interesting is that all along, John kept telling me, you got to read the Bible, And I didn't even own one, so I thought, well, I'll download one to my Kindle, and I was kind of shocked because it's like, well, these are all free. This can't be much value, huh? So I've downloaded this Bible, and so I can't read this Bible. So I was reading like Max Lucado, Sproul, Jerry Bridges, was reading, and thinking, well, there's good stuff in here, but I don't think this is what I'm looking for. I just couldn't put it all together. And so I had actually made the decision, it's like, I don't think Christianity's for me, I'm going to walk away from it. And then 2 weeks later was when I was in that life-threatening accident with the broken neck and everything, and I thought, I think if you're ignoring God, he takes drastic measures to get your attention, that I better get back on this path. And then that's when you called about going to Israel. And so, you've got to pick 12 stories to tell. And that was a hoot, too, because he sends me these titles, and I'm reading the titles, and I'm like, Felix, Festus, and Agrippa, this sounds like Gunsmoke to me, not the Bible. So I don't know. So I'm just pulling 12 stories out. And I intentionally avoided things like the resurrection, because I knew those were the biggies, and I thought, maybe we better let the real Christians do those, because I'm nowhere near. But, and John has this way of never giving you all the information, So if I'm going to go, I just have to learn 12 stories to tell. So I get my 12 stories, and even then I was kind of pushing them aside. And then one day he said, oh, and by the way, you have to read all 255. I'm like, this is getting to be work. So, but I did. I started reading the 255.
Well, you kind of skipped over a few things there. You say, I don't want to read those 255. And I kept, so Phyllis, you got to read these stories. No, I don't want. And I don't even own the Bible. I remember one time you said, I tried reading the Bible. It's just confusing. It just doesn't make sense. I remember one day I got an email or a phone call, and you said, oh, I just found out I can put this into my Kindle.
Yeah.
And if I put it in my Kindle, when I'm in the airport or flying, I can just be reading these. And so you actually started reading them then. I did.
I really did. And I read them. I had this kind of a cocky attitude, because I thought, he keeps saying, read the Bible, read the Bible. I'm thinking, I can't read that thing. So I thought, he gives me the 255. I thought, I don't need the Bible. I've got John Walsh's Bible, I'll just read that, and this will be gravy. So I started reading them, and all of a sudden I sent him an email. I said, gee, I read the 255 thinking this was going to be my substitute for the Bible, and what I found out, it was my gateway to the Bible. So, and as an educator, that finally made sense to me, because we know that when we're teaching reading, children have to have background skills. So when I tried to open up the Bible, I didn't have background, but the 255 are written so beautifully. You can just read through those, and they're chronological, and you just move through that. It gave me the background knowledge I needed to go into the Bible, and so now the Bible started making sense to me.
Yeah, I remember you said that you would read the story, and you said, I know what you did. You simplified it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, what'd you leave out?
Yeah.
So she had to download a Bible to look up and find out what I'd left out. Yeah. And then she read the next story, and then she had to read in the Bible. And she went through the whole thing, the story, the Bible, the story, or maybe not.
Quite a few of them, especially the ones I had to tell. I would really get into going to the Bible and reading everything before and everything after, because I had to get it into a framework. So. And
then I remember, I always thought it was kind of funny. You said, you got all done with the stories of the Bible, and you say, well, I'm going to Israel with all these churchy people. I better read it again.
Yeah, I did.
And this time you were taking notes. You're keeping these little cards.
I did. I kept 3x5 cards where I would write out the bones of the story on each one. So I did that on all 255. And for a long time, I carried those index cards with me, so that wherever I'd go, I could flip through those, because I didn't want him to ask a question and then be like, I wanted to be able to at least answer one or two, because I pretty much couldn't answer. I know one day we were working at the prison, and he was asking questions, and all the inmates are popping up with these answers, and I didn't know any of them. And then somebody asked something one time, and John said, well, is the Pope Catholic? I said, oh, I can answer that one.